It's difficult to talk about Rue Valley without talking about its inspirations. Because it looks so similar, comparisons to Disco Elysium can't be helped. But Rue Valley, while using a similar foundation, manages to create a building atop that foundation that is entirely unique. Rue Valley attempts and succeeds at becoming its own new beast, but I suspect that it unfortunately will still have to deal with the cold air that lies under that large shadow. I greatly enjoyed my time with this game though, and while it is not as well written or as well paced as Disco Elysium, it's one of the first disco-likes, whatever that term really means, that I really enjoyed. And at the same time, its story, characters, and writing style are nothing like Disco Elysium. I was lucky enough to be provided a review code for this game by Owlcat Games, which I greatly appreciate. I generally don't take review codes, and half the time I do, I don't often feel compelled to actually review the game because I just either didn't like it enough or just didn't feel strongly about it. But as soon as I put an hour or so into Rue Valley, I knew I needed to talk about it. I'll be giving my first impressions here today, though I will avoid spoiling the game as much as possible. If I do reveal specific examples or talk about encounters, they will only be ones that take place in the first few hours or so. I will also try to keep my footage confined to those first few hours, possibly using clips from the later sections of the game, but not any that would spoil anything. In short, I do recommend this game, and if that's all you needed, then go play it right now. Rue Valley is an isometric narrative adventure game with some light RPG elements. It tells the story of Eugene Harrow, a man who has found himself at the Rue Valley Motel. Here, he is set to stay for the immediate future while he seeks out treatment with a therapist operating out of the motel itself, Dr. Fink. Eugene Harrow is his own person, with a past and mistakes, but we also roleplay that character and adjust some of his traits at the beginning of the game. Your character's personality is made up of 3 axes: decisional, social, and emotional. We start out with 9 points and must spend all 9 points in these axes. Points cannot be spent in both sides though, it's one side or the other. For example, spending points in delusional, I can either make my character more calculated or impulsive, but not both. Making them more calculated will eventually make them indecisive or paranoid, or both. You can switch these traits around as well to determine, if only putting 2 points in, which you'd like your character to be at first. The same goes for social, leaning towards either introverted or extroverted, and emotional, which leans towards indifferent or sensitive. I made a character who was calculated to the point of indecisiveness, introverted to the point of secrecy, and emotional to the point of being dramatic. It's honestly kind of a confusing system to explain, but it isn't that hard to understand once you get a few minutes into the game. I mean this to say that it looks a bit more intimidating than it is. Honestly, just pick the traits that you think best represent the character you want to play and go for it. These traits will affect the things that you can say in the game. Some choices will be locked out because you're too secretive, or some choices will only be able to be picked if you're paranoid, etc. These traits also provide a different perception of your choices though. In normal conversation, where your traits aren't having an effect, at the receptionist, for example, the traits you have chosen influence the way that you perceive your character acting. When you're talking to the receptionist at the beginning of the game, you might be forced to pretend to pick through leaflets while you wait for her call to end. If you're introverted, in your mind, your character is doing this as a way to avoid an awkward encounter. And if you're extroverted, your character might be doing this as a way to politely encourage the receptionist to get off the phone quickly. It's an interesting emergent system that pops up in a lot of narrative-heavy RPGs that let you craft a character. Any good sort of game with role-playing mechanics will generally have this. The character creation infects the normal conversation like a virus, changing the way that you inherently view the character and their interactions. If it's done well enough, you don't even notice it, and this is just the character now. This was a change that I really only perceived once I started my second playthrough, though.
We also found out several stuff that weren't at all intended, like, to understand, but like this combination of traits and all that kind of gives you a feeling that wasn't written or drawn anywhere, so it's nowhere. But because of how all these things and systems work together, you get some idea of what's going on completely out of nowhere.
These traits that you choose cannot be adjusted. They are with you throughout the game. They represent who you are, but they can be changed temporarily by status effects. A status effect at the beginning of the game that sort of acts as a tutorial brace, holding you back from larger mechanics and decisions, is total lack of motivation. This prevents you from saying certain things in the game, but certain status effects like tipsy or soaked, which you get from drinking alcohol or standing out in the rain respectively, will adjust your stats one way or the other. The reason we start the game with total lack of motivation, though, is because Eugene Harrow does not want to be in Rue Valley. It's a small town, and he doesn't know anyone there. On top of that, he's being forced to go to therapy, a process he is seemingly not on board with. Why he's here in the first place will unfold as the game does, but his first day in the town isn't exactly eventful. It starts at 8 o'clock at the end of his therapy session. He heads to reception to get his key card, maybe helps out the girl who is slamming her foot into the vending machine outside, heads up to his room, and tries to fight the demons in his head as best he can. He eventually wakes up after a bad dream and heads outside to see an angry driver in a car, gets some water from a vending machine, and sees the entire sky enveloped in flame at exactly 8:47. Before he can even think, he's back in therapy at 8 o'clock, and this is where the game really starts. Rue Valley is all about this 47-minute loop. Every single day, without fail, you will end up back at the therapist's office once the clock hits 8:47. The game happens in all of those minutes in between, after the therapist's office, but before the flame envelops the sky. Your goal here is to learn more about the loop and ideally figure out its nature and possibly how to escape. This is primarily done by speaking to people and gaining intentions. Rue Valley has a mechanic to organize the different people you meet and pieces of information that you gather. It's a lot like Disco Elysium's Thought Cabinet. Here you might just collect new slices of history on a person that you met, but gather enough info on something and you might gain an intention. An intention is a driving force, a motivator that moves your character forward, a goal that you need to achieve. You can use inspiration points, which can be gained from interacting with things in the world, to commit this intention, which usually then reveals new pieces of dialogue that can be spoken to characters. These goals make up what you would call the main story of the game, of which I will not reveal here, but will talk about vaguely. I will say this, when Rue Valley needs to pack a punch, it does. And those big moments that you expect are the ones that really hit hard. There was a specific scene when the main character was pondering their own life and impact that I have to admit hit pretty damn close to home. I had to sit back a bit and take a breath because it cut deep. And the characters that the game introduces are all fantastic. In this light CRPG Groundhog Day, you slowly start to learn about the inner workings of the town. You learn about people's past, having multiple conversations with them across different loops. There's a certain scene towards the end of the game where you learn something very small about a character, but it just felt so important, like it completed who they were. And the game can be damn intense at points. Since this is essentially a sort of Groundhog Day situation, our character doesn't really have to worry about consequences because the loop will just reset everything. But when you're sneaking in someone's home and they catch you, and there's still a few minutes left before the sky is engulfed in flame, those minutes go by real slow. And the story and the town have atmosphere in spades as well. You feel the rural town vibe from the moment the game starts. Everyone knows each other. Everyone has some sort of past, and small businesses and buildings are separated by miles of desert, meaning that getting to a specific location is going to take precious time out of those 47 minutes. But the rain comes down at the same time every day, and this loop holds sadness as well. Rue Valley isn't perfect, though. At certain points, the story does have pacing issues. Sometimes, if your character is completing a repetitive task, the game might send you into a montage where you're seen flipping through loops faster than you can imagine, so that you, the player, don't have to repeat the same action over and over. And there is some joy in finding these little ways that you can speed up conversations. When your character learns someone's tick and figures out how to get that receptionist to stop talking about the keycard system or to fix the vending machine outside, it's pretty satisfying. But by the end of the game, I felt like certain sections were sort of bogged down because I felt like I had reached the point of sort of moving a bit quicker. That, or I was entering a whole other act that I didn't even expect to be there. The writing also isn't the greatest at times. It can be a bit inconsistent. And again, maybe this is me needlessly comparing Rue Valley to Disco Elysium. I mean, how do you even begin to stack up against one of the greatest games of all time? You can't, and Rue Valley doesn't, and that's fine. I made peace with this somewhere around an hour or so into the game, and I realized that Rue Valley doesn't have to stack up against Disco Elysium. It's its own separate thing, and the game is great at what it does, creating an emotional and individual story about loss, grief, processing emotions, and tragedy. There's some really heavy themes here, and some lessons I think everyone could learn from this game.
What we wanted to achieve is like, don't be stuck in the past. I mean, the whole time loop is like a metaphor for that, so don't be stuck in time, don't be stuck in what's going on, what happened. Like, you need to like step forward.
I also don't think you're going to be playing Rue Valley over and over like some other games of its ilk, but second playthroughs will reward you with a new perspective, and there certainly are things that you'll miss on a first go-around. The game looks gorgeous as well, with backgrounds that wind and twist like large paintings on a canvas. I really loved the reflections of the motel sign on the puddles in the parking lot. The neon light just appearing in the water was a beautiful touch. My absolute favorite thing in this game was seeing the flame-enveloped sky from all different parts of the area. In the motel parking lot, while driving through the desert, while walking through the desert, peeking through the windows of the various buildings, watching it all descend and being motivated and ready to take on another loop. The soundtrack is great as well. Composer Anna Kurstajic's Footsteps serves as the game's main theme, and it is a beautiful, melancholic track.
Shadows linger, whispers lie, and faces shift as nights go by.
Even just the motel themes and songs that we hear throughout the game all perfectly fit the ambiance they're trying to create. I particularly loved the intense jazz that plays as your character is trying to race against the clock, driving to another destination at breakneck speed. There's certainly things that the game could do better, and I'd really enjoy seeing some sort of final cut version of this down the line where maybe we have a button that can just end a loop automatically rather than having to pull out your phone and tell your character to play a mobile game until it's all over. Just some small quality of life things. But I don't really think any of the negatives I carry about the game get in the way of telling the story of Eugene Harrow, or rather, allowing you to craft and create and shape that story. Rue Valley is one of the first disco-likes that I've really enjoyed, a genre that I felt would be burgeoning with creativity and promise after the idea of a Disco Elysium sequel was dying in front of my eyes. And there are a lot of games that seek to carry that torch, that have promise. But Rue Valley is carrying a ton of different torches all at once. Its Disco Elysium inspiration is just one part of that flaming bouquet.
is time loops. Obviously, we went through all the time loop movies and games and all that, and Back to the Future movies where you have this kind of wacky movement. TV show Leftovers, if you know.
And I imagine I'll be returning to this game many times in the future. For now, I definitely recommend checking this out. It's a special experience, and I promise you won't regret it. Hey Dad, thanks for watching this video. I'd really appreciate it if you would give this a like and a comment. Let me know what you think about Rue Valley. Are you excited to play this game? Are you interested? I know this is a bit of a variation on my normal format, but I really wanted to talk about this game. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super intriguing, and I had a great experience. So I threw this video together pretty quick. Again, I want to thank the people at Owlcat and Emotion Spark Studio for not only giving me a key, but also getting me an interview as quick as they could while going through the process of releasing this game. So I really appreciate that. If you want to support the channel further, head over to the Patreon. I upload exclusive movie reviews over there, and I also upload a monthly media report where I talk about all of the media that I consumed in the previous month, sort of listed off and chat about it. So head over there if you want to see that kind of stuff. I'll see you next time. Bye, Dad.